Hello, welcome to week 9 of the Course in Miracles study group. I'm here with Angela today, and we are on chapter 2. I'm looking down to check the page number. Page 27. I'm going to leave in the description box below the link for the online copy for Course in Miracles. It's free, so you can look that up. And so we're on chapter 2. Under text on the online, and in bold letters it says special principles of miracle workers, and we're on number 1, and we're going to go back and forth and just talk about what we're reading. Thank y'all for watching the replay. Yeah, and always feel free to comment in the comment box below your thoughts or your interpretations or any insights that you get during this whole experience. All right, I'm going to start with number 1 under special principles of miracle workers. The miracle abolishes the need for lower order concerns. Since it is an out of pattern time interval, the ordinary considerations of time and space do not apply. When you perform a miracle, I will arrange both time and space to adjust to it. So I read this already before coming onto Zoom so that I could sit with it for a little bit longer while our minds got warmed up to the language. And, I was thinking about it. And my interpretations of number 1 is essentially that the miracle abolishes sort of our connection to the one who suffers, to the one who worries about money, to the one who worries about the how or the why or the when. And so in face of the miracle, all of these lower order concerns are just completely removed, or we can at least perceive that they are limitations. And then since it's an out of pattern time interval, the ordinary considerations of time and space do not apply. When you perform a miracle, I will arrange both space and time to adjust to it. This just makes me think of like divine order. Like a miracle is something that happens in divine order outside of the confines of space or time. So it's almost like a portal opens up and obstacles get taken away. Like miraculously, you've aligned yourself with the presence of love just by being in that moment as pure awareness. And so because you've aligned yourself to this miracle readiness mind, it's like all obstacles have been removed instantaneously, and new situations arise out of thin air that are for you to experience because you've now aligned yourself with this miracle readiness consciousness, or being pure awareness in the present moment. It's only when we're in our thinking minds and identifying with our thinking minds that all the obstacles kind of pop up, because the obstacles are only ever just trying to show us where we're not in alignment with awareness. So when we get into alignment with awareness, it's like everything kind of falls away and time and space open up for miracles.
I love that. I love the part that says when you perform a miracle, I will arrange both time and space to adjust to it. Because it is that, like, it's almost like lifting up out of the time and space that you're in, and then there's like a reorientation, and then just dropping back down into that new adjustment. But it's like it all happens in an instant. There's not really like that time delay of like the raise up, the readjustment, and then back down. It's like our perception can't really see that, but it just happens like right in that moment. But I love that. I think I'm really gonna love this chapter.
I know, so excited. This reminds me of yesterday, something that came through for me was this analogy of like, right as you're about to like extend out of your comfort zone, it can be perceived as like walking off the face of the earth, but you have to take that step where you feel like you're about to walk off the face of the earth. And then as you take that step, it's like the world completely shifts and reorients itself to catch you. But you'll never know that the world's going to do that until you take that step.
Yeah. It's like the hand of God is just like, I'm here.
Yeah, exactly. It's
Yeah.
awesome.
But yeah, it is up to us to take the first step. I think that's where um it's easy to get caught up is like, you've been talking this week also about like looking for the sign and like how we are the sign. It's like we we are the ones that have to make the move. The information is available to us telling us to make the move, but nothing's really going to happen until we're the ones making the move. So I love how you've been putting that. It's like I am the sign. I just need to move and then everything will follow in order. It's not the other way around.
Hmm. That's always such a powerful um, mindset shift, which is available in every moment, even when we forget. It's just like a simple remembrance and then shift back into that mindset. And it's always exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, because there is that kind of fear that can come up. It's like, am I making the right move? But it's like there isn't really actually a wrong move. Like what no matter what happens, if we're still going on the same trajectory, if we're headed in the direction, it doesn't really matter what happens along the route. It's like we're going to get there, but how much are we going to be picking up along the way? Like what are we learning along the way? And so there's not really such thing as a mistake because in the grand scheme of things, if all of this is already written, then you were going to make that step anyways. So it's like you can't really fail.
That's so true. It's like we have the bumpers up, like when you go bowling
Yeah,
and you can put the bumpers up. We have the bumpers up. We just have to roll the ball.
totally. Yeah, we've got our rain boots on. We're totally
Yes,
protected.
I love that.
Yeah, this is cool. Okay. These are kind of short too. All right. A clear distinction between what is created and what is made essential. All forms of healing rest on this fundamental correction and level perception. Um, I'm not, I don't understand. Is this like a part of something larger, or is that the sentence in its own?
I think that's the sentence. There's 8 numbers and they're all the principles of miracle workers.
Oh, this is the principles. Okay, I'm gonna start over. A clear
Yeah.
distinction between what is created and what is made essential. All forms of healing rest on this fundamental correction in level perception. So, yeah, that's kind of what you were just talking about, like in bowling, like I see like the level perception. Something that I have been really conceptualizing a lot lately is like the axis of like her horizontal and vertical. And so, what am I trying to say? So, the level perception is like we're on that level plane because if you're on this and like there's a tilt, if you're on a tilt, it's like you're not in balance. You have to be at that level perception in order for it to like go this way. So all forms of healing rest on this fundamental correction and level perception. That's just like keeping it at the balance. You're no longer like in the tilt.
Mm. Would keeping it in balance just mean like having correct perception?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so if we're like traveling along on a trajectory, um, like if you're on like a suspension bridge, those like creepy suspension bridges, it's like they're going to like tilt as you're going, but like you get across it if you are the one that's like staying balanced and level. It's like the tilt is going to be there because that's life, but staying when we are level in our perception and like in the way that we move, like we get across safely.
I love that analogy. Yeah, just keeping that like leveled perception throughout all of life's challenges.
Yeah, because there's always
Yeah.
going to be, like the ground is going to be shaky. It's not always as solid as it might appear. So it's up to us to be the one that's solid.
Mm. Yeah, I love that. I love that. This came up in a conversation I was having yesterday about not reaching for something outside of you to give you peace or happiness or fulfillment, because even when that thing gives you the like peak level happiness, then there's going to come the day where it crashes and it's no longer giving you what you were getting from it. And so your happiness is going to go down with it because you don't have that sturdy level perception of reality from within. You're grasping at something outside of you to give you that leveled perception. And so, because life is wobbly, the thing that's giving you the happiness or the validation is inevitably going to fail you. And because you're holding on to it so tightly rather than anchoring yourself firmly within, you're going to crash along with it.
Yeah, totally.
Love that.
Very cool.
Love. Okay, number 3. Never confuse right and wrong mindedness. Responding to any form of error with anything except a desire to heal is an expression of this confusion. I think this speaks to learning how to respond rather than react to your triggers, which is also kind of what we were just speaking to in this previous one of just like being that steady presence that doesn't need anything outside of itself to get anywhere or to be anything. It just already is. And so then, because you already are, if something external to you triggers you, you no longer feel the need to react to it because it's not actually taking anything from you. And it never is. And if you think it's taking something from you, it's a misperception. And so, wrong mindedness, I think, would be a misperception in thinking your triggers are taking something from you or threatening you in some way. Whereas responding from a right mind with the desire to heal or forgive, I would say, um, anything other than forgiveness is an expression of the confusion with the attachment to the external trigger.
I love that about the forgiveness too, because going back to like the steps that we take, how there's not really mistakes, you know, sometimes you can feel like, you made this mistake or whatever, and then you get into these shame spirals and it's like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. But it's like forgiveness really is the only way, because if you were going to take that step anyways, it's not, you can't shame yourself for something that was always going, for a choice that was always going to be made, or a choice that, something that was always going to happen.
Mhm.
So it's like the forgiveness and thinking that that step was like a misstep, I guess.
Yeah, that's so true.
Okay. The miracle is always a denial of this error and affirmation of the truth. Only right mindedness can correct in a way that has any real effect. Pragmatically, what has no real effect has no real existence. Its effect then is emptiness. Being without substantial content, it lends itself to projection. I don't know if I'm fully grasping this.
Hmm.
Only right-mindedness can correct in a way that has any real effect. So, it's no real effect, has no real existence.
I guess it might be pointing to like when we try to fix something with the physical, tangible world rather than first looking to correct our perception of it, then it's like a hollow, a hollow, where does it say? Like an empty action because you didn't actually nip it in the bud. You kind of went to tried to change the effect rather than the cause.
Okay. I like that. I like that in the sense of like wastage too. Um, because if the goal is sustainable, to move through the world in a sustainable way that's not going to lead us to burnout or ultimately lead to the demise of our planet. So when we're moving in an empty way, kind of like what you said, that there's so much waste there that, yeah. So it's like there's conservation in that, which I really appreciate because if we're just moving from all this like emptiness, it's not sustainable in any way, and that just it causes harm to ourselves, it causes harm to others, to the planet, like to everything. So that makes a lot more sense.
That is so true. And that I've been having this like visual come through the past couple weeks in a couple situations where it's almost like when the external looks like when in the external it looks like we're drowning, we tend to just kind of flail around because we think we're drowning, and in reality we're just wasting a bunch of energy and we're going to drown faster. Whereas when you're drowning, you should just kind of like stop for a second and breathe and get your bearings and then just start swimming. So you
Yeah,
do eventually have to take action, but if you just react initially to the idea that you're drowning and start flailing, you're gonna drown. But if you
yeah,
take a second to just like breathe and clear yourself internally first, and then take like aligned action through like act what it actually means to swim, not just flail, then you're gonna be okay.
yeah. That's perfect because it's that flailing and that wastage of life force energy that is going to cause your ultimate demise. So, yeah, I really like that.
Yeah, I love it too. Okay. Is it my turn?
Yeah.
Number 5, the level adjustment power of the miracle induces the right perception for healing. Until this has occurred, healing cannot be understood. Forgiveness is an empty gesture unless it entails correction. Without this, it is essentially judgment rather than healing. Okay. Okay, so the level adjustment power of this miracle induces the right perception of healing. And this goes back to the first one, where in the level adjustment, it abolishes the lower order concerns. So you're adjusting your perception from seeing at the level of the ego and seeing your attachment to whatever is happening as the truth, whereas you rise above, and that the level adjustment power of the miracle induces the right perception for healing. When you adjust your perception or the level adjustment to rise above the egoic attachment to the suffering and to what's happening in your whatever it is, it puts you in the right mind state for healing, um, which then produces true forgiveness from within first. Forgiveness is an empty gesture unless it entails correction. I suppose this one's just saying, like, if you just pretend to forgive someone, but then you still have the internal resentment or you still act in unconscious ways from this unhealed place, the forgiveness doesn't actually mean anything because you were trying to forgive on the lower level rather than rise above in the level adjustment to rise above to the higher perspective and forgive from that perspective. That felt kind of, did that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, I love that because it isn't that easy. I mean, it can be, but it isn't that easy to just say, like, okay, I forgive this person. Okay, I forgive myself. You know, we can say all of these things, we can whatever, but it's that itself can also be empty if you're not acting and moving from that place of forgiveness. If you don't
Mm-hmm.
actually feel that forgiveness in your spirit, in your body, then it doesn't really mean anything, and that is also contributes to the wastage of energy because you're holding on to that. And the more you hold on to that in your body, you have that stuck tension. It's like all of your energy is going to that because it's trying to stay I don't know if manifest is the right word, but it's trying to stay stable in its own right. But it's not up to like these feelings of tension. Like they don't need to have a life of their own. That's not the point of them. They're supposed to come and go. And yeah. And so that is like wastage of energy because it's like that it's giving that a life, which
Mm.
we don't really have place for, that in the atonement, we wouldn't really have that. I think that's kind of like I pondered the concept of demons because I don't really know what I believe in that sense. I don't think that like I think mythology like gives a demon, like pictures and as they're like little goblins or whatever. Like I'm very like logical and straightforward. It's like I don't know how much I believe that. I think a demon is more like it's like a tension that's held in us that has then taken a life of its own because we're like feeding it with our energy.
That's so true. That's the same way that I kind of see demons is just like internalized energy that's been like festering in the subconscious mind because you've been ignoring it, but then also acting from it unconsciously. So you've
Yeah.
been feeding it. And I think this is why it's important to like not hold shame around not forgiving something, to like be brutally and totally honest with ourselves at all times. That's the only way to truly heal is when we can be utterly honest with ourselves at all points and try to hold no shame or judgment around these honesties, because it's when we use false denial and try to suppress things that they fester. And when we aren't honest with ourselves about like, actually, no, I haven't forgiven that person yet, and we try to be all like love and light, I'm a spiritual being, it's all love, it's all love, and I forgive them, but like actually you haven't, like you're
Yeah.
actively feeding that demon inside of you. It's in that brutal honesty with yourself to be able to look at that and say, no, I have not forgiven them, I have not forgiven that situation, and I don't know if I can, I don't know if I ever will be able to. And just allowing yourself the space to feel that way and not trying to fix or change it, just allowing it to be in the open is the only way to actually eventually heal and forgive. But you shouldn't make the point of being honest to eventually forgive. You should just make the point, wanting to be honest with yourself, wanting to no longer feed the proverbial monsters in the shed in your backyard.
Yeah, and there's also the honesty that comes with the fact that holding on to that is actually serving us in some way. there's no, we don't, we're not perfect, and there's no real way to be perfect. And there are like portions of our lives where those things do serve us. And I think really loving that. I mean, I can be pretty bitter, and sometimes I find a lot of joy in that because I think I'm funny. So but like, is it ultimately like the goal to hang on to those things? No, but
Mm,
it's a part of me, and it adds to my experience. So yeah, I would totally agree with that.
yeah. I love that you said, I think I'm hilarious.
Yeah. It's like that, I think, is like the fun in life, is like sometimes I'm a little crazy, like
Yes.
I can
Just,
act absurd, and at least I can laugh at it.
yeah, just bringing humor to it. Whenever my husband and I first met and we first started dating, he would always be like, you're so hilarious, but you're really only ever just being like super rude to people and then laughing in their face afterwards, and you think that's humor. He was like, but for some reason, I think it's hilarious. And for a long time, I was kind of like, "Ugh, I don't do that. I'm not rude to people." And it wasn't until like I actually owned it and I was like, okay, fine, whatever. I can be a bitch. And it's funny sometimes
Yeah.
that like I was actually able to see where that was coming from. And not that I'm like totally different, like what you said, like I think I'm hilarious. But I think it just bringing that humor into it, making a joke out of it is like sometimes the quickest way through it.
Yeah, that's funny. I had kind of existential crisis, like I want to say in January, because my brother said something in like a family group text. Like my mom was trying to plan something or whatever, and my brother was like being really wishy-washy, and I was like, "Oh my God, like if you don't want to come, like just say it." And then he responded like very poorly, like as if he was like, don't act like I'm the only one with communication issues. And I was like, and then I just had this crisis about it. Like, I never said that I was perfect. I never said I was the one with communication issues. So it's like I triggered him and then he triggered me back. And then I was like, I don't know how to communicate. Like everything I say, it comes off, people think that I'm rude. And it's like, there is a part of me that's like being pretty rude, but like I just have like a very small tolerance for like stupidity, I guess. And so
Yes.
it's like, oh my God, just say it. Like he's so like wishy-washy all the time. And I'm just like, oh my God.
You're driving me crazy.
Yeah. But then it like makes me have a crisis. Like, am I like so terrible? Am I so rude? And it's like, yeah, a little bit.
She's like, whatever. Oh, I know. I'm like, as long as I learn how to apologize and move forwards, I'm good because I'm rude too. And my husband tells me I'm rude all the time. But at least now I bring awareness to it. And whenever I do hurt people's feelings, even if I don't understand how, I'm like, I don't know how this hurt your feelings, but I just have to like put my ego aside and apologize, like genuinely apologize. And I'm learning how to do that these past 6 months. And um, I don't know where I was going with that, but yeah, I love it.
Yeah, I would have to fully agree with that. It's funny that when I asked about your astrology and you said Taurus moon, I was like, I knew it. I knew it. It's like that's such a trait of Taurus. Like it's not really, there's not a lot of feeling. It's just like things just are. I'm not trying to be rude. It comes out that way. And then, sometimes it just
Yeah,
happens.
it drives me crazy because it's always like, I didn't think I was being rude, but I guess if I was, I'm sorry.
Yeah. And the truth hurts. The truth hurts. Sometimes all we are is like deliverers of the truth. And it's not always fun like having to be the one that has to deliver, because other people can look at you and be like, wow, like, did you have to? And it's like, sometimes I do. And, but it's like, I actually have the strength to like take the brunt of that. So, whatever.
That's true. I was like, sometimes I just have to say it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I appreciate that about you.
And being like rude is just a label that we have put on people who make us uncomfortable. And I'm not saying like some things are just rude and it
Yeah.
shouldn't be, but like some things aren't rude and they just get perceived as rude because people just see anything that makes them uncomfortable as something negative,
Yeah.
which isn't always true. It might just be making you uncomfortable.
Yeah. And some things are just basic math, you know? It's just 1 + 1 is 2.
Yeah, sorry, I can see it and you can't.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love this. Okay.
Okay, I think we're at number 6.
Number 6. Okay. Miracle minded forgiveness is only correction. It has no element of judgment at all. The statement, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do, in no way evaluates what they do. It is an appeal to God to heal their minds. There is no reference to the outcome of the error. That does not matter. Uh, it in no way evaluates what they do. Miracle minded forgiveness is only correction. I'm not really sure I'm grasping this one either. It has no element of judgment at all. I mean, this is really just kind of what we were talking about. Like, there's not really a feeling associated sometimes when you have to say things that, someone else might find uncomfortable. There's not a feeling or an intent behind it. It's just like, I'm not judging. I'm just bringing attention to, whatever. But the Father forgive them, for they know not what they do, in no way evaluates what they do. So is that,
Oh, I lost you. It broke up.
oh, am I back?
Yeah, you're back.
Okay, cool. Um, yeah, I'm not really sure I understand this one.
Yeah, that's what I was reading it a couple times over and I also kind of was like, that's kind of what we were just talking about. Miracle mindedness is only correction. It's like it's not that something is being deemed as good or bad because that only exists in duality. Like this is good, this is bad, this is rude, this is nice. Like those things only exist in a dualistic, separate thinking mind. Whereas in unity, there only is what is. It just is. And there's not even an opposite to it. Like the truth is just the truth and it's just what is. Um, so the statement, Father, forgive them, they know not what they do, isn't necessarily placing judgment on what they're doing because what they're doing isn't even being evaluated. It's an appeal to God to heal their minds. I guess it's just like a prayer to ask God to bring their minds back into wholeness rather than separation. Because when people act out of a separate mind and like do cruel things, like I think this is something Jesus said even when he was being crucified. Father, forgive them. They know not what they do. He wasn't even saying that what they were doing was evil or not evil. He just understood that it was coming from the separate mind, and he was asking for God to reinstate them in their right mind because he could see who they truly were, and they were not acting from that place. They were acting from the separation. Does that kind of make sense?
That makes perfect sense because it's not it's also kind of what we were just saying. It's like that it's not my intent to like hurt. It it just is, like some things just are. And to say like, forgive them, they know not what they're due while he was being crucified, it's like they're just acting from what they see like right in front of them. It has nothing to do with like the grand scheme of things. They can't see that. You can't really hold them accountable for something that they don't see. So, kind of
Yep.
gets into like the morality thing, which I question a lot, but yeah, yeah,
It's
that's
almost like the miracle-minded forgiveness is only correction. It's like correction is lifting us out of duality completely. Like oneness does not exist within duality. Oneness exists in its own entire space and has nothing to do with duality. And so when you're doing your best to honor this space and to speak from this place of oneness, it's not always going to come out as nice or as rude. It's just going to come out. And yeah, yeah, I don't know where else I was going with that, but I'm also with you where I'm like, I kind of get this one, but also not, I don't fully grasp the whole thing.
okay. Cool. I like that.
Yeah. Okay. Number 7, the injunction, be of one mind, is the statement for revelation readiness. My request, do this in remembrance of me, is the appeal for cooperation from miracle workers. The two statements are not in the same order of reality. Only the latter involves an awareness of time. Since to remember is to recall the past in the present, time is under my direction, but timelessness belongs to God. In time, we exist for and with each other. In timelessness, we coexist with God. Okay, let me ponder this one for a second. Hmm. So be of one mind is a statement bringing you into full oneness with God, whereas do this in remembrance with me. I don't understand what he's saying. Like, time is under my direction. I can kind of grasp it. Like he's directing us to who to remember. Like Jesus is just a simple incarnation of the energy that, like his oversoul. Like his oversoul didn't only have a lifetime as Jesus, he had multiple lifetimes on multiple different planets, and Jesus was just um one physical incarnation of his entire oversoul. So do this in remembrance of me is like in remembrance of what he did in the lifetime as Jesus, which can only exist in duality, either remembering or even that physical incarnation of Jesus can only exist in duality. And so that's kind of different from be of one mind, but I don't understand why they're both in this paragraph together. Timelessness belongs to God. In time, we exist for and with each other. In timelessness, we coexist with God. So when we're in time, we're existing for and with each other. We're essentially, our relationship with each other is like the number one, most important kind of training ground or tool for remembrance in the entire world from my perspective. Like one-on-one human connection and relationship is one of the most important elements of eventually remembering who we are. And I heard this analogy earlier when I was reading a book that was like, we're in the portion where the cookie dough has been made and then it's been separated all out into separate cookies on the tray. And so you would think like, oh, this is 12 separate cookies, but they originated from the same like initial first dough. So like, are they actually separate or are they the same? Because they all initially came from the same source. Yeah, I don't know. This is very like this is very like broad and ambiguous, I feel like. But that's all I have for this one.
Cool. I don't really have much to add to that one. I find it a little confusing, but I do like that analogy. I love like the most basic analogies because I feel like the best way to describe what is going on and for us to really understand is like when you take it down to a level that even a child can understand. It's like that, like, why are we trying to overcomplicate it? You know, like we are
Yeah.
just made from the same cookie dough. So
Yeah.
like that.
That's so true. Yeah, I agree with that. And it's like when we overcomplicate it, it's because we're using our minds, we're trying to logically understand it. Whereas when we are actually understanding it, there's less thinking and more just being, we're embodying it. So I think when we overcomplicate things, we're still trying to use our minds to figure out enlightenment, which I'm going to go on a quick, which reminds me of something I was reading. I was really getting into reading about the story of Babel or whatever in the Bible, like in Genesis, and how the humans on Earth at that time tried to use their ego to physically build a tower to heaven. And when they reached up to the sky, I guess they like collapsed and it was portrayed as like God punishing them and like forcing them to separate and go to different corners of the earth and like speak different languages. But the way I interpreted it was that we tried to reach enlightenment with our ego, and it just caused us to fall into deeper separation. And now we're just constantly listening and believing our thoughts and speaking them out of our mouths and babbling on for all of eternity, just like totally missing the point because we're still trying to understand it with our mouths and with our mind instead of just like being still and being it.
I love that. I've never actually looked into that story, but that makes so much sense because, you know, unless you were instructed to do so, like, what are you doing? There's not really anything to do. And you talk about this a lot in your videos too. It's like there's nothing to do unless, you know, are you being instructed to do it? And if we're not being instructed to build a tower to reach the heavens, then why are we doing that? Really wasting time.
And it goes back to the analogy of flailing because we feel like we're drowning.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like I've really had to work through this in I wouldn't say I'm like a busybody, but there are times when I'm like, should I like be doing something? You know, is there something more I can be doing? Because, you know, I like putting in work to things. I like results. I like um building, I guess. But it's like sometimes there really is just nothing to do. Sometimes you just need to sit down and just do absolutely nothing and let and you know, if we really trusted that, then we would know that like when we're told When we hear the call, then there's something to do. But it's like we're not fully trusting that. So, yeah, that's really interesting to think about because it's like all of these just like dumb actions that I'm taking just because I'm bored or because I feel like I need to be doing something. It's like I'm just building this tower to nowhere that, I if I'm not like properly equipped for it, has no solid foundation, is not even being built properly into a way that it can withstand whatever it is I'm searching for, which is right here the whole time. So I like that analogy.
Yeah. And so then essentially it's actually building you a tower further away from what you're trying to reach.
Yeah. And then it will fall down on top of you.
Exactly.
I
Humans are so funny.
do think so.
Oh,
Okay. So, number 8, you can do much on behalf of your own healing and that of others if, in a situation calling for help, you think of it this way: I am here only to be truly helpful. I am here to represent him who sent me. I do not have to worry about what to say or what to do because he who sent me will direct me. I am content to be wherever he wishes, knowing he goes there with me. I will be healed as I let him teach me to heal. That's so
hmm.
funny. That's like exactly what I was just saying. It's like there's nothing to do until you get that call that's like, hey, maybe you should do this. And otherwise, there's nothing to do. I like the part where it says, I'm here only to be truly helpful too, because I think we need to like redefine what is helpful. Um, and this is just like myself, but it's like I want, like trying to figure out my career and like what it is I want to do. I've never had this innate sense of like I want to help people because I've always kind of had the understanding of like you can't help anyone. You can't actually um yeah, you can't like nobody can be helped unless they are receptive to the help. And anytime, it's like wanting to be out there and like I'm trying to help other people. It's like I'm just taking away from myself. I'm not, I'm trying to do all these things to help other people just to avoid the fact that I just need to focus on myself. Because the more I focus on myself and do what it is I need to do, that's actually helping other people. Because the help is more of like a transfer of energy and light, information, all of that, than it is like me going out and like, I'm gonna save the world, I'm gonna help people. Like, yeah, I don't know. It's a strange paradox because like ultimately, do I want to help people? Yeah, totally. But if there's nobody to help right now, then what am I doing? So,
That's so true. And I love that you brought that up because this is something I've been totally deconstructing these past couple of years is this savior complex of feeling like I need to help, I need to change, I need to fix, I need to save. And it's just like, no, actually, you don't. You just have
yeah,
to be you and just be so present in every single now moment that you become what you're doing. And something
yeah.
that really helped me conceptualize this was I cannot for the life of me remember where I heard this, but someone said when you're listening to a bird chirp, you're actually merging with it. And your energy and the bird's energy are merging. And for that moment that you're hearing it chirp, you're getting almost like an energetic understanding of what it's like to be a bird. And so it's like if we sink so deeply into the present moment, into what we can hear, what we can smell, what we can feel, what we can see, it's like we merge with everything that is, and we become the underlying buzz of awareness. Like we no longer even necessarily identify with our physical body. We understand that we're experiencing this physical body, and we are like we've descended down into the experience, but we no longer identify with it. And so then we can merge with all that is in the present moment. And so like when you're cooking a meal, you're not separate from the meal. You are the one preparing the meal, but you are also the meal that is being prepared. And then whenever you go to sit down and eat with the meal, it's like a communion with it, with yourself. It's like a communion with life itself, because you understand that you are all that is. And it's just this like simple witnessing of everything in that moment is what heals. I don't know if that makes sense. And it's also in that moment when you get those like inspirations to take action or to do whatever it is. But if we're always disassociating from the moment in our thoughts, worrying about how am I going to fix the world? How am I going to change the world? How am I going to come up with a video? I have to make videos this week. Let me think of 5 different video ideas. You're like missing the point because the point is to be so engrossed in what you are doing that you become all of it. And it's in that moment that you will be directed to the next moment that you will fully engross yourself into. And then you just morph back into all that is as the pure buzzing awareness of it all, which is super hard to like wrap our minds around. But that's why we can't think our way into this. It has to be you just have to be it.
Yeah, that's interesting. In January, I was trying to make it a habit to go out and do stargazing every night. And there was one night that I was out there, and we kind of live by an airport. And for the last while that I've been living here, I've been like, oh my God, it's so loud. Like, I hate to go sit outside. It's so loud. There's all this freeway noise, there's all this airplane noise, and the planes, like, they really are just like so low flying over the house. And so, like, the past year, I've been in this state of like really kind of hating it. And for some reason, this night, when I was out there and this plane was like really close, and when a plane is flying, it's like this, there's like that sound delay because it's not,
Mhm.
it's, I mean, like, I don't know, like the science of it or whatever, but there's like the delay. It's like a plane is coming by, but the sound is like trailing behind it. And I had this experience where the sound was like following behind, and it was like moving in this like, and for some reason I just like shifted into this mode where I was like, I receive this. And it, like, the sound of it like just came into me, and I could feel like all of my cells just buzzing. And it was like I totally had jumped into like a new timeline. Like, I was new after that moment. And it just shifted my perspective because it's like I have been hating these planes flying over me for like a year now, when I could have just accepted and looked at it from a higher perspective of like, maybe that, maybe this is part of like the larger thing. Like, I can look at it from my human mind and think, humans are destroying the world. Like, there's all this noise pollution and blah, blah, blah. But it's like the way that that struck me was exactly what I needed in that moment to, like, I don't know, but it was like that total experience of like oneness. It was like that I was like everything. And then that the sound of this plane just like happening. I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but like I just totally see it all differently now. Like, just the fact that I live where I live now, Like there's all these planes going overhead. I live by like freeway interchanges, so there's like all this freeway noise, and it's like the loudest place I've ever lived. And it makes me crazy. But now I'm like, think about the flow of information. Think about the like all of the people, all of the humans that are passing through this. And then I just kind of started to see it as like really beautiful that we have this ability to like, even though I don't know who was on that plane, but somehow I've connected with them and they have changed me forever. And if I'm changed forever, then they're changed forever too. And like, even if they don't have an awareness of it, I don't know. That's all I really have to say.
No, I love that. I really love that. It's like all we ever really had to do is just witness life.
Yeah.
Just be the neutral, divine, compassionate, loving witness of it, and that is what actually makes lasting, grounded, sustainable change in the world is just learning to be in that presence of witnessing. Wow, I love that experience. Thank you for sharing that. That was beautiful.
Yeah. It was crazy. A lot entailed after that. I'll go into it, but like, yeah, I went into like a whole totally different timeline. Like, it was weird. And then I've gone out a couple more times and like, like come into me, like playing noises. Like, it's not the same.
I'm open.
Yeah, it's not the same. It's one of those things where it's like you can't expect it. You're just acting. It was just that night. And like I had my headphones in, I was listening to a song, and I just like had the song on repeat. And it's like it's one of those things that you can't replicate. It's like I didn't have any conscious awareness when I went out there that like anything was gonna happen. And I was just like, I don't know, look at the stars.
Mhm.
So, but
Yeah, it's like oh,
like
sorry.
looking back, like when you look back, when you have those experiences and those moments, you look back on it and you're like, oh, like why have I been worried about what I'm doing when everything always works out perfectly in retrospect? So,
That's so true. It's like really learning how to just surrender and trust the present moment,
yeah,
which is so hard because we have so much like programming and we're in fight or flight and just like all of this. ah, and it's learning how to just feel safe in the present moment, even with the discomfort. And you can't think your way into it. It's just something that you have to be, right? You can't like try really hard to experience it. You just have to be so present in the moment that you're not trying to do anything.
yeah,
And then it's like when you're meditating and then you feel yourself like shifting or like sinking into a void space or something, and then all of a sudden your conscious mind is like, oh, I'm doing it, and then instantly you lose it and you're like back to reality.
yeah. Yeah, as
So
soon as
funny.
it's like that, as soon as you name it, then it's like,
Gone. So funny. Okay, I think this is a good spot to pause on. So I'll put my little bookmarker here
okay.
and then we can go to the lessons. That was a fun conversation. Thank you.
Yeah, I've had a lot of fun too.
Okay, lesson 6. I am upset because I see something that is not there. Oh, for everyone watching the replay, we're on the lessons. So if you flip back to the back portion of the book, or if you click, where online do you have to go to get to the lesson portion?
It is called the workbook for students.
Workbook for students. So it's a different section now, and we're on lesson 6, which is on page 585 in the physical. And then I think you can just scroll down and click it, if I'm not mistaken, on the
Yeah.
o-
Mhm.
online. Okay. Lesson 6. I am upset because I see something that is not there. The exercises with this idea are very similar to the preceding ones. Again, it is necessary to name both the form of upset, anger, fear, worry, depression, and so on, and the perceived source very specifically for any application of the idea. For example, I am angry at blank because I see something that is not there. I am worried about blank because I see something that is not there. Today's idea is useful for application to anything that seems to upset you and can profitably be used throughout the day for that purpose. However, the 3 or 4 practice periods which are required should be preceded by a minute or so of mind searching. As before, and the application of the idea is to each upsetting thought uncovered in the search. Again, if you resist applying the idea to some upsetting thoughts more than to others, remind yourself of the 2 cautions stated in the previous lesson. There are no small upsets. They are all equally disturbing to my peace of mind, and I cannot keep this form of upset and let the others go. For the purposes of these exercises, then I will regard them all as the same. This kind of jumbled up in my mind while I was reading it, but I think I kind of understand. And it's been so weird because after doing these lessons these past few weeks, I guess we've done them for 6 weeks now, 5 weeks now. They've just been like randomly popping into my awareness without me like thinking about it. I'll go to like do something or get triggered by something, and then like I'll just like randomly apply one of these lessons to it without even thinking about it. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I do think there is something to like the synergy that happens when like like you opening up this space and then providing awareness to come into this space. It's like whatever comes out here is exactly what is necessary for me and for you and for anyone watching. Is like it's going to be the exact thing that any of those that was like necessary or needed for any of those people at that time. It's like when you come into that like guided synergy, it's very transformative. Like the themes, I'll notice like after we have these conversations, the themes continuously come up. And that to me is like, okay, I need to be here. There's like a reason why I'm here and showing up for this because we are in some type of flow. And if I can help contribute to that flow with you and then with other people, it's so much larger than we really see. We have no idea what's really going on here. So I think it's
Yeah,
amazing that you hold this because it's really big. It's cool.
I'm so grateful that you are here. I feel like we have really had a lot of really cool conversations. And I was thinking about the same thing the other day about how, if time doesn't exist, then everyone participating, no matter if they're watching the replay or here live, like it's all collapsed on top of each other and we kind of create our own collective consciousness. And
Yeah.
then exactly what this specific collective consciousness needs to experience or hear or talk about, it's going to happen in this space that has been created. We kind of
Yeah.
like opened the door for miracles, which is cool.
Yeah. And it comes through with us like being honest with each other. I don't know, because I was like really nervous before getting on today. I was like, I don't really know why I'm so nervous because like I feel comfortable, but for some reason, yeah, I was nervous. But it's like the more that we remain vulnerable, it just like opens up that for other people. So yeah, I really just appreciate you doing this. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I really appreciate you being here every week. I really enjoy our conversations. I love bouncing off of what you say.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Hey, Cheryl, I just saw that you popped on. We were just closing out for the day.
Can you see me? Can you see
I
me?
can see you. It's breaking up a little bit.
Okay. I'm at work and I don't know what time this starts.
Oh, that's okay. It starts every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Central. And I email out the link to join about 5 to 20 minutes before popping on. And I have you, oh well, I was about to say I think I have you on the list, but you're here, so you are on the list.
Right. Yeah,
So,
unfortunately, it's always during my work time.
oh,
Yeah, shoot. I would love to join you.
yes. This is
Well,
Angela.
did I hear you say it's recorded and then you can like watch the replay?
Yes, the whole thing is recorded and I upload it to YouTube every Wednesday.
Oh, okay. I'll have to catch that then. Hi, Angela. Nice
Yes.
to meet you.
Hi, nice to meet you too.
All right.
Awesome.
I didn't know what to expect when I hopped on just now. So
Oh, that's okay. We were just closing out talking about the lesson, but yeah, today was really a good one if you wanted to watch the replay. It was a fun
what lesson are
conversation.
you on? What number?
We're on lesson 6, and then
Oh,
we started on page 27.
okay. I've never read the whole book. I think I'm on like 186 or something like that. I
Oh,
started
awesome.
it 5 years ago and I keep putting it down and never getting through all the lessons. And then I'm not sure if I should jump back in where I left off or if I should start back over like from the beginning. And
Yeah, I did the
it wouldn't
same
hurt
thing
me to
over.
start back from the beginning, honestly.
Yes, I did the same thing over these past couple years. I would like pick it up, put it down, pick it up, put it down, and I eventually was just like, okay, let's just start over and be consistent with it.
Yeah. I really wished I would have finished it by now. So I have that kind of feeling of like, I've dropped the ball so many times.
Oh, it's all good. I mean, it's a lifelong
Yeah,
thing, right?
true enough. Yeah.
Yes, it's definitely a life practice rather than like a destination to complete.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to keep you guys if you're just about ready to hop off. So
Well, it was nice to meet you.
Yeah,
thank
nice to
you.
meet
You
you too.
too. I'm glad I hopped on for just a couple minutes here at the end.
Me too. It's nice to, I was glad to see your face and talk to you.
Thank you. I appreciate
Yes.
that.
Yeah. And I hope that you get the opportunity to watch the replay and enjoy it.
Yeah, I will. I'll check it out. Thanks.
Awesome. Of course. All right. And I'll talk to you later.
Okay.
Okay, well, see ya.
Awesome.
Sorry about
Well,
that.
okay. No, you're
Oh, don't
okay.
be
You're
sorry.
good.
I'm glad you jumped in. It's fun to see someone else jump in here. So really good to
Well,
meet
good.
you.
Thank you. Yeah, I will. I'll just try to like hop on sometime if I can.
Oh,
Thank you so
you
much.
broke up a little bit. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
Awesome. Yeah, I had fun today, Angela. Thank you.
Yeah, me too. Thank you so much.
Yes. And I will see you next week.
Sounds good. Okay,
Awesome.
bye.
Bye.